Okay, fam. So what have I whipped up for you? So I whipped up something that I grew up eating. I could go to the bodega and get it. I can just go to my own home and have it, or a friend's house in a Latin home. You know, these were really big. So what am I referring to? One of my little favorite grab and go kind of things, relleno de papa. So what is that? Basically, in essence, it's a potato ball filled with either beef or chicken, and you can fill it with corned beef if you wanted to. So mine are filled with a picadillo, and mine is a ground beef picadillo. You can do again turkey, chicken, picadillo if you want to, but mine just are ground beef, just your traditional ground beef. So what makes these so awesome? So let me tell you, inside of that picadillo is the essence of Puerto Rican cooking. You have the robust flavors of the sofrito, the tomato sauce, the olives, the pimentos, the garlic powder, onion powder, all those bases which make great Puerto Rican cooking. So, my intention on today is to show you how to make these delicious and succulent potato balls, which will be the next hit at your work party, any kind of get together. So stay tuned, sit back. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's get into it. All right, so moving forward, what are we going to need? I have four medium to large size potatoes. I'm going to use some chicken bouillon and some salt. And I'm going to have a medium to large. We have our potatoes chopped and in the water. Now what we're going to do is add that chicken bouillon. Like I said, that's just for more flavoring versus just putting the salt in there. So we're going to also put some salt. Okay, now let's just go ahead and get our lid put on. Let this do its thing. Let these potatoes become tender. And now what we're going to do while these are cooking down, we're going to make our base for our picadillo. Okay, so now let's go ahead and start our picadillo. So first off, you can use whatever oil you want to. I always use olive oil. So I'm probably going to put about a tablespoon and a half just because I wanted to keep some moisture and stuff in there as we get to cooking this. And so our next step is to go ahead and drop 2 tablespoons of that fresh homemade sofrito. And what we're going to do with that, we're going to begin to saute that. Also, as you're sauteing this, remember, this sofrito has a high liquid content. So if your pan is too hot with that oil, it will pop out at you. We don't want that to happen. So I got an electric stove. So right now, mine is at about a 3.5, 4. So we've got that. So we have that sauteed. So our next thing is we're going to move into using about 4 ounces of tomato sauce next. Now that we have that in there, let's begin to mix these two together. Nothing like some tomato sauce and homemade sofrito together. What a harmony it makes as we're building this base. So let's go ahead and get all this worked in. So now that we have that all combined together, we're going to use some pimentos and a few green olives in here as well. And I used about a tablespoon of the pimientos and about 3 to 4 olives in this. So now we're just going to go ahead and mix that around. All right, so our next step is going to be to put some onion powder and garlic powder. Both of these are a teaspoon and a half. And we have a teaspoon and a half of adobo. Let's get that all incorporated. All right, we have that all mixed around in there with the tomato sauce and the sofrito. Now, our next step is to put some beef bouillon in there since we're using ground beef. And of course, none other than sazon. Also, we're going to go ahead and incorporate that like everything, but also, like I was getting ready to say, when you're making this, if you're using chicken or turkey, use the chicken bouillon, not the beef. I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory, but I just wanted to put that out there. So let's go ahead and get this mixed in. Okay, so our next step is to go ahead and put our ground beef in. And I almost forgot, we're going to put a little bit of black pepper in here. And we're going to get this all incorporated now. Also, I forgot to mention, just go ahead and cover it, and we're going to let this sit for about 5 minutes and let all that stuff continuously work together, and then we're going to come back and check on it. Also, fam, just a quick little side note. What's cooking without just a little bit of a drinking, right? So remember we made some coquito? Why not just have us a nice glass of coquito while we're waiting for those potatoes to come to a nice tenderness. Cheers, family. All right, fam. So making that picadillo gave our potatoes just enough time to go ahead and get tender. So what we're going to do now is we're going to dump the water, and then I'm going to So we have our potatoes drained. We have them into our pot. And so now what we're going to do, we're going to mash these up really, really good. And then we're going to set them aside, put them in the refrigerator for a little while to cool down. And then we'll come back, and what we'll do, we will season our potatoes just like we seasoned our picadillo. Also, while this is cooking down, as you can see, we have it incorporated. While it's cooking down, I wanted to mention that with Spanish style cooking, and I'm going to say Puerto Rican style cooking, the thing about it is this. You see how we built that base with the sofrito, then we came in and we put the tomato sauce and we built that layering. Traditionally, a lot of people, they do their ground beef first. So in Latin cooking, we want all those other flavors to come together first, and then we go ahead and put our beef in there, so that way it can go ahead and absorb all those flavors, and you already have this beautiful base that it can already go into. So then that meat absorbs all the flavors and everything else. So that's why I do it that way, and most Latin people as well do it also. All right, familia. So now we got our picadillo, and it's done. How do I know it's done? Because there's no pink. So what I'm going to do now is just take and fold this all together, and what I'm going to do is set it to the side, and then we're going to get ready and come back and start building our rellenos. Our potatoes have cooled down. Just a disclaimer, depending on the amount of potatoes and stuff like that, for these right here, these medium to large potatoes, I let them cool for probably about 30 minutes. So this is not a quick recipe, but it'll be really, really good when it gets, finished. So let your potatoes cool, like I said. Mine are completely cool. So now let's go ahead and start putting some seasonings in there. Again, to get the orange color, or you could let them stay with this color, I always start off with 1 packet of sazon. So there it is. Everything's incorporated. I did a taste test. I always want to do a taste test to see if it's the flavoring you like or if it needs a little bit more salt or whatever that you want to, you thinking that it might need. So now I end up using one more pack of sazon, which that's going to be more flavoring. So that's why I didn't put anything else, and it gave it the right amount of uh, flavoring that I wanted without being too salty or undersalted. So again, those were four medium to large potatoes. So if you have bigger potatoes and more, just always remember to go back and taste it and see. So now our next step is this. I usually either just use my hand, or if I want to get fancy, I use an ice cream scoop. So let's get a little fancy. Okay, so now we're going to take our ice cream scoop and we're going to get a scoop out. Now we move into our final step. I know it's been a long process, but I promise you the end results will be amazing if you have never had relleno di papa. These potato balls could be big, they could be medium. None of them are always symmetric, but with that ice cream scoop, they will always be symmetric. I have a little bit of potato left over, and normally what I do with that, if these potato balls, when I make them, if they need to be patched in, is what I call them. I'll take a little potato and put there, and patch it all in there. And so in this bowl here, I have one egg. I have some panko, seasoned breadcrumbs. And so now what we're going to do, we're going to start building our rellenos. And then over to my left, I have a skillet with some oil in it. If you have a deep fryer, you're more than welcome to do that. I just like pan frying my. Well, here we are to the last and final step. We have our rellenos ready. We're going to dunk it into our egg mixture, and then from there, we're going to go into our panko and then into the frying pan. So, you just want to go ahead and okay, so we have our rellenos with our breadcrumbs and everything on them. So now what we're going to do, our oil is up to temperature, and we're going to go ahead and fry these. And again, we want to fry these and just to where they're a golden color. So we're going to move them around in there so that way they can cook on all sides. Now it's taste time. So let's see what we got. Right out. the softness of the potato, excuse me, the nice crunch on the exterior, and then the flavor of the picadillo all come together. And that's what I mean about just the burst of flavor you get out of this potato or relleno di papa. Try this with your family, try this with your kid. I always say this, that food is a love language. You can be mad at someone, you could be angry, but with your husband, wife, significant other, kid, whoever it is. But the minute you get in that kitchen together, sometimes with, you know, your wife or your kid, it takes you back to your childhood and brings back memories of maybe you cooking with your mom, your dad, your grandmother, whoever it might have been. And, you know, it just brings this joyfulness and all that madness goes away. And I honestly believe through that, you know, for me anyway, cooking is key to keeping some things in the family together. So again, like I always say, some of the most important things is to do what? Hug your loved ones, tell them you love them. Until next time, peace.